The first time I saw them, I thought it was just the wind. It was 2:37 a.m. when I woke to the sound of scraping against my bedroom window. I lived alone in a small ranch house on the outskirts of Flagstaff, Arizona, the kind of place where coyotes sometimes wandered onto your porch, but never people. Not at this hour. Not in November, when the desert nights dipped below freezing. I lay still, listening. Scratch, 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 like fingernails dragging down glass. The first night, I told myself it was just tree branches. The old juniper near my window had brittle limbs that sometimes tapped the roof during storms. But when I pulled back the curtain, I saw them. 3 figures, standing perfectly still in my backyard. They were tall, too tall, with elongated limbs that seemed to sway slightly, as if moved by a wind I couldn't feel. Their faces were hidden in shadow, but I could make out their postures. Heads tilted at unnatural angles, necks craned toward my window. Watching. I dropped the curtain and called 911. The police found nothing. No footprints, no broken branches. Just the juniper tree, its gnarled fingers brushing my window. Probably just sleep paralysis, the officer said. But I hadn't been asleep. The second night, I installed motion sensor lights. They clicked on at 3:14 a.m. I didn't want to look. But the scratching came again, louder this time, deliberate, and then knocking. Not on the door, on the window. 3 slow, measured raps, like a polite request to be let in. I grabbed my hunting rifle and yanked open the curtain. The figures stood exactly where they had before. But now, their arms were raised, palms pressed flat against the glass, and their faces, oh God, their faces, stretched too wide, smiling. The third night, I boarded up the window. My hands shook as I hammered the plywood into place. The hardware store clerk had joked about my paranoia, but I didn't care. I'd seen the way those things looked at me, the way their mouths split open like something unhinging. That night, I slept with the rifle across my lap. At 3 a.m., the scratching started again, but this time, it wasn't outside. It was inside the walls. Something moved between the studs. A slow, wet, dragging sound. Then a whisper, so close it could have been right against my ear. "We're in." The truth about the house. The next morning, I found the basement door ajar. I'd never used it. The previous owner had warned me about black mold down there, said it needed professional cleaning. But as I descended the steps, the air smelled like earth, like something freshly dug up. And then I saw them. Dozens of handprints smeared across the concrete walls, small ones, child-sized. And at the far end of the basement, a hole, just wide enough for a person to crawl through. The dirt around its edges was disturbed, as if something had clawed its way out. The last night, I packed my car at sunset. Flagstaff could keep its mysteries. I was done. But as I turned the key in the ignition, it was 1:23 a.m. when I noticed something odd about my living room window. The glass should have shown nothing but blackness. My property backed onto 15 acres of Oregon forest, and the nearest neighbor was half a mile down the road. Yet, as I passed by with a beer in hand, I glimpsed movement. Not outside, inside the reflection. 3 figures stood where my couch should have been. Tall, still, watching me from behind my own mirrored shoulders. I spun around so fast I dropped the bottle. The living room was empty. Night 2. The tapping. The next evening, I installed security cameras. At 2:17 a.m., the motion alert buzzed my phone. The live feed showed my backyard, empty. But when I rewound the footage, my stomach dropped. There they were. Same 3 figures, same unnatural height, standing at the tree line, perfectly still. Then, as if sensing the camera, all 3 turned their heads toward the lens in unison. The feed cut to static. That's when the tapping started. Not on the window, on the camera itself. Like someone testing the glass of a fish tank. Night 3, the invitation I called the police. They found nothing. No footprints, no tampering. Probably just deer, the deputy said, shining his flashlight into the woods. The beam illuminated something pale between the trees. A face, stretched too wide, smiling. The deputy didn't see it. That night, I barricaded the doors. At 3:03 a.m., my phone dinged. A text from an unknown number. "We've been trying to reach you about your home's extended warranty." Below it, a photo attachment. My bedroom, taken from inside the house. Night 4, the reflection game. I smashed every mirror, covered the windows with plywood. Didn't matter. They found another way in. At 4:44 a.m., my bathroom faucet turned on by itself. The mirror above it was gone, but the water still showed a reflection. Theirs. 3 faces staring up from the swirling drain. Their mouths moved in unison. "We're in the pipes." The final night, the plumber said it was just air in the lines, when brown water gushed from every tap. I didn't tell him about the teeth clogging the filter, or the fingernails. Now I write this by flashlight, listening to the drip, drip, drip from the kitchen. The cameras show nothing. The windows are boarded, but I can still see them. In the shine of my knife. In the curve of my phone screen. In the pupils of my own terrified eyes when I blink. They're learning. And they're almost perfect at mimicking reflections now. Every night at 3:33 a.m., they appear outside my 10th floor apartment window. I first noticed them during the heat wave last July, the kind of sweltering night where the air conditioning groans like a dying animal, and you sleep with the window cracked just to breathe. That's when I saw the first one, a man in a soaked business suit, suspended in midair outside my window, his tie fluttering in non-existent wind, his face pressed against the glass. Smiling. Night 1, the accountant. I called 911. The operator humored me until I described the hanging man's details. Red tie clip shaped like a scorpion, mole beneath his left eye, gold wedding band with the inscription, "To E, forever yours." The line went silent. Then, "Sir, that describes Edward Mercer. He jumped from that building in 1997. When I looked back, the window was empty, except for the handprint, facing inward." Night 2, the bride. The next evening, I duct taped the window shut. At 3:33 a.m., the tapping started, not on glass, on my shoulder. I woke to see her reflected in my TV screen, a woman in a rotting wedding dress, floating cross-legged outside. Her veil hid no face, just a void where features should be. When she spoke, maggots fell from her non-existent mouth onto my carpet. The TV flickered to life, showing a grainy home video. A bride screaming as she steps backward off a balcony. The timestamp, June 18th, 2012. The day after my wedding. Night 3, the boy. I moved to the couch, boarded up the bedroom, didn't matter. At 3:33 a.m., something wet dripped onto my forehead. The ceiling fan swung slowly, a noose tied to one blade. A child hung from it, his sneakers grazing my hair. "You promised to play catch," he whispered. I recognized him then. Timmy Reynolds, the kid from 4B who vanished in the 80s. The one whose baseball card I'd stolen weeks before he disappeared. His neck cracked as he turned his head 180 degrees. "You've been losing things too, mister." He pointed to my hands. My wedding ring was gone. Tonight, the super says no one named Edward Mercer ever lived here. The police report shows no bride died in 2012. 4B's records list no Timmy Reynolds. Yet as I write this, all three hang outside my window, inside the glass now, their fingers pushing through like it's wet paper. The boy holds up my missing ring. The bride mouths, "Forever yours." And the accountant? He's tapping his watch, because at 3:33 a.m., they come inside. The first rule of living alone in a high-rise? Never look out the windows after midnight. I learned this the hard way when I moved into Unit 1207 of the Aurora Heights apartments. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of Chicago's skyline. And them. Night 1. The Watcher. It started with the man on the fire escape. 3:17 a.m. I woke to the sound of clicking against glass. There he was, a gaunt figure in a soaked trench coat, crouched outside my bedroom window. His fingers tapped the pane in a slow rhythm, water dripping from his sleeves to form odd symbols on the metal grating. When our eyes met, his jaw unhinged like a snake's. No scream came out, just the gurgle of river water. The security footage next morning showed nothing but empty darkness, but the fire escape rails were rusted, as if submerged for years. Night 2, the family. I drew the blackout curtains. At 3:29 a.m., the baby started crying. Not mine. I live alone. The sound came from outside the window. When I peeked through the curtains, a woman in a 1950s dress floated 6 stories up, pressing a writhing bundle to the glass. "She won't stop crying," the woman mouthed. The bundle unfurled. A skeletal infant with milky eyes, its umbilical cord snaking down the building's side like a rope. The apartment records show Unit 1207, 1956. Mother and newborn fell during fire drill. Night 3, the crowd. Tonight, I covered every window with aluminum foil. At 3:33 a.m., the foil breathed. Bulges formed, dozens of handprints pushing inward. Then the whispers began. "You left us out here too long. The cold gets in our bones. Let us see the city one last time." When I tore the foil away, they filled every window. Men, women, children, all pressed against the glass like specimens in a jar. Their clothes spanned decades. Flapper dresses, disco shirts, grunge flannels. All waterlogged, all smiling. All recognizable from the missing persons website I'd browsed that afternoon. Tonight the super says Aurora Heights has never had a drowning. But the basement maintenance log lists July 16th, 1987. Pump failure. Water reached the 12th floor for 7 hours. No casualties reported. The clock ticks toward 3:33 a.m. Outside, the fire escape creaks under invisible weight. And the foil is singing a lullaby now. I was home alone for the first time ever when it happened. Mom had to take my little brother to the children's hospital 2 hours away. "Just one night, Lily," she'd said, squeezing my shoulder too tight. "Keep the doors locked. Don't answer for anyone." She didn't say anything about the windows. 8:47 p.m. first contact. The rain started as I microwaved my pizza rolls. That's when I saw her, a girl my age standing at the edge of our backyard, soaked to the bone in a yellow sundress. Weird, because it was 45 degrees outside. Weirder, because she was smiling through the downpour. Not a normal smile, the kind that stretches too wide, like someone hooked fingers in the corners of her mouth and pulled. I texted my best friend Emma. "Some creep girl is staring at me from the yard." Emma replied instantly, "Lily, your mom texted me. There's no girl. Go to your room and call 911. But when I looked back, the girl was gone. Where she'd stood, the grass was dead in a perfect circle. 11:23 p.m., the tapping. I barricaded myself in my room with a kitchen knife. That's when the tapping started. Soft at first, then louder. Not on the window, on the ceiling, directly above my bed. I pulled up the security cam app Mom made me install. The backyard camera showed nothing, but the attic camera, a pale hand slapping the inside of the roof, over and over and over. The timestamp said the footage was from tomorrow night, 2:19 a.m., the invitation. My phone buzzed with a notification. One new friend, request, Lucy Abernathy. The profile picture was the girl in the yellow dress. Her bio, missed you at school today. Let's play. I'd never seen her before. But when I Googled the name, the local paper had a 1965 article. Teen girl vanishes after sleepover. Last seen in yellow sundress. The tapping turned into scraping. Something was crawling through the attic. 3:33 a.m. The face in the glass. I pressed against my bedroom door, knife shaking in my hand. The rain had stopped. The room smelled like wet earth. That's when I noticed my window, covered in breath fog from the outside. A handprint appeared, then another. Then a face pressed against the glass. Lucy Abernathy's hollow eyes found mine. Her lips moved silently. "You're my best friend now." Behind her, dozens of other teenage shapes emerged from the woods, all in outdated clothes, all smiling that impossible smile, all reaching for my window. Now the police found my phone in the backyard. The last search was for how to remove mold from attic walls. They say I ran away. But Mom knows the truth, because when she got home, all the windows were locked from the inside, and my bedroom walls were covered in children's handprints facing outward. I never should have moved into my grandmother's old house. The first night, I thought the scratching at my window was just tree branches. Then I saw the breath fog on the glass. From the outside, there was no one there, at least, not at first. Night 1. The Watcher. The thermometer read -20 degrees Fahrenheit when I woke to the sound of fingernails dragging down my bedroom window. Outside, standing ankle-deep in snow, was a man in a tattered winter coat. His skin was blue-white, lips cracked with frostbite. His eyes, solid black, like oil spills, locked onto mine. When I screamed, his mouth stretched into a grin full of jagged icicle teeth. The police found nothing. No footprints, no disturbed snow. Just a single frozen handprint on the glass, facing inward. Night 2. The children I boarded up the window. At 3:33 a.m. the giggling started. High-pitched, playful, coming from inside the walls. I tore the boards down just in time to see them. 5 children in outdated winter clothes, their faces pressed against the glass. Their breath didn't fog the window. Their eyes were milky white. The tallest, a girl in a 1970s snowsuit, held up a frozen finger and wrote in the frost, "Let us in." When I called my grandmother, her voice shook. "Oh God, you're in Bobby's room." Bobby, her little brother, had vanished playing hide and seek in 1952. They'd found his friends first, frozen solid in the old ice house. Night 3, the offering, the temperature plummeted to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. Something thumped against the house all night, like a deer carcass being dragged along the siding. At dawn, I found them. Dozens of frozen rabbits piled beneath my window, arranged in a perfect circle, their bellies split open, empty. My grandmother's last text came through at noon. They're hungry. They always were. Then her phone went dead. Tonight, the power's out. The walls creak with expanding frost. And the window is breathing. Every exhale paints new words in the ice. We found Grandma. Outside, shadows move in the blizzard. Tall, thin, holding something round and pale between them. The thermometer just hit -40 degrees Fahrenheit, and I finally understand. Cold never bothered them. They are the cold.